Okay, we're starting this video a little bit late. I forgot that I wanted to shoot a video on this, and this is going to be a Clarifier unlock of a realistic TRC-465 here. So this is a radio I've had in my possession for some time. I've already recapped this whole radio and aligned it and all that, and it's just another radio I pull out and put on the bench here and play around with. But today we're gonna do the Clarifier mod, and like I said, I forgot to start the video. So basically where I'm at right now is let me get a pointer here and I'll show you. So if we look down here, this is the PCB behind all of our knobs on the front, and this right here is our Clarifier control. And this leg of the potentiometer, the Clarifier, is our 8 volts input. So I just started etching through this trace here to cut that 8 volts off from the potentiometer, and I remembered, oh crap, I want to make a video on this. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off getting this trace cut, and then we'll move on from there. But if you look at my video on the realistic TRC-453, which is just essentially the same radio, the differences lie in the control layout on the faceplate, and therefore there are different PCBs behind the faceplate here, so these traces are laid out differently and all that. So this one, the easiest way to do it is just to cut this trace right here and disable that power input. So that's what I'm doing. Let me get that finished off, and then we'll be back. All right, so we cut through this trace here. That is now effectively cut through, so we no longer have our 8 volts sitting at the Clarifier potentiometer when the radio is in either upper or lower sideband mode, receive, and this voltage would be disabled during transmit. So what we're going to do here is we're going to supply 8 volts constant power here to our potentiometer. So that's the first step that we have to go through in order to unlock the Clarifier. So the next thing I'm going to do is take some hookup wire here, and I'm going to solder onto that leg of the potentiometer. I'm going to get myself an 8 volt constant source, and we'll start that next. Let me get a wire soldered here on the pot, and then we'll move on. Okay, so we've got our let me turn down that radio. I like working with some skip in the background. Okay, so we've added a wire here to the bottom of our potentiometer, and I'm going to route that wire. Let me flip this over. I'm going to take that wire to, well, let me show you this first. So this is IC3 here. This is our balanced modulator. So I'm going to take power from the same source for this, which is, let's see if I can see it through the camera. Probably not. Right here. So that little solder point right there, that's where I'm going to attach at. So this actually ties right into the balanced modulator IC3. So I'm going to tie this end of the wire right to there, solder it to there, and then we'll have a steady 8 volt source for our new Clarifier unlock mod. So let me get that done, and then we'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and we have soldered that wire there onto our 8 volt source. And really, this is probably the most challenging thing, I guess, if you're not great at soldering. This board, these unit boards here, the traces can be very close together. So if you're not that great at soldering, I would suggest practicing before you tackle this one. But yeah, it's done. So the next thing we need to do is on this side of the board, we need to, I don't know if I can get this tilted up so we can see. So there's 2 components down here that we need to remove. What I do is I just lift one leg of each. So D25 right here, we're going to, or I'm going to lift one leg of D25, and I'm going to lift one leg of R119, and that will effectively disable this transmit offset pot right here. It's no longer going to be used, and then we're strictly just going to be dealing with our receive offset and transmit offset pots up here. So let me get these two legs lifted, and then that's it. The clarifier will be unlocked. So give me a second. Okay, so the one leg of D25 down here has been lifted, and one leg of R119 has been lifted. I leave these components in place in case maybe one day after I'm long dead, my kids decide to sell these radios, and the guy that buys them or buys this radio wants to relock the clarifier. He's got the components still sitting there. He doesn't have to go fumbling around trying to find a diode or a resistor. They're still sitting there. He can just resolder them back to the board. So anyway, now the clarifier is unlocked. We'll go ahead and put some power on this, and let me set up for that real quick. I'll get power back on the radio here, and then I'll show you the clarifier's unlocked, and then we'll just go ahead and align real quick, and then that'll be it. This clarifier mod will be done. Okay, we're back. We have the radio powered up. I've got my mic adapter in the radio, and we are generating a 1 kilohertz tone over there at 30 millivolts, and I'm going to key the radio, and you see the clarifier. We're at 12 o'clock for our center slot right now, and we're going to look at the output on the frequency counter over there. So let's go ahead and key it up. All right, we're keyed, and you see over there on our power meter we're about 5 watts average, and there is our output. So on lower sideband right now, channel 19, we are about 1 kilohertz off. I'm going to move the clarifier here. Let's see if I can keep these two together in the same video. So I'm going to move it one direction. Here we go. See, we're 500 hertz higher, and I'm going to move the other direction. Now we're way down there below where we need to be. So it is definitely unlocked. I'm not going to, well, I guess I can. I can just do a quick alignment in this video. I was going to just point you to the realistic TRC-453 video, because I give a pretty good explanation of how it's done there. But I'll go ahead and just do it here. Let me set up for that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got my clarifier knob back centered where I want it, and I've got my adjustment tool here, and I'm ready to key up again. Now, as I've explained in my previous videos, I don't use a PLL, the service manual PLL alignment at this point after a clarifier is unlocked. I don't look for a frequency offset here on a test point to align lower, upper, and sideband and AM. What I do is I look at the output of the radio when it's transmitting through an RF sampler there to my frequency counter. I find that to be a much easier way to deal with it. Usually online you'll see that with really just generally speaking about any clarifier unlock, they reference retuning the lower sideband, upper sideband, and AM transmit offsets here to realign the radio, but I found the problem inherent in that is usually the audio, even though you're on frequency, sounds a little funky. But after the clarifier is unlocked and this transmit offset pot is disabled, you still can use, for example, this is the lower sideband transmit offset pot. This is the lower sideband receive offset pot. You can use your pots in conjunction with each other to make your overall output frequency. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to adjust both of these to set my frequency where I need it for lower sideband on channel 19, which is going to be 27.18400 megahertz, 1 kilohertz down from the carrier. I'll use the upper sideband receive offset and upper sideband transmit offset to set my frequency to 1 kilohertz above the carrier at channel 19, 27.18600 megahertz, and then I'll use these two, which are the AM receive and transmit offsets, to set my carrier frequency. And that's it. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that real quick. And if you want to see me actually go through it, watch the TRC-453 video, and you can watch kind of step by step how I do it. But I'll tell you what I'll do though is I'll key up again. So the clarifier is centered, and we'll look and see how far off we are. We should be at 27.140 megahertz. So we are keyed up, and you see we're 1 kilohertz off right now. All right, I'm going to stick the radio into upper sideband. We should be 1 kilohertz above the carrier, 27.18600, and we are about 700 hertz high. And then I'm going to stick it in AM here, and then I'm going to turn off my tone, my 1 kilohertz tone. We're just going to look at an AM dead key, and we'll see what it's transmitting. So we're about a kilohertz off there too. So let me go ahead and make these adjustments, and then I'll be back. Okay, so we are now aligned like we want to be, and you see we're still 12 o'clock on the Clarifier control, and it sounds pretty good. And I'll just show you what our output frequencies are now. So we are in, what are we in here, the upper? We're in upper. Let me turn this radio down. Okay, so we're going to key up here and upper, and we should be close to 27.18600 megahertz when we do. So we are keyed up, and we are sitting at almost right on the money, 1 hertz off. So that's good. That's our upper. And let's go to lower. We should be 1 kilohertz down from the carrier. So we're keyed up, and we are, it looks like we're 13 hertz off. Let me make a little adjustment on that. So we're going to do that right in front of you here. Let me make a little bit of adjustment. If I can ever find the slot. Oh, okay, so we're in the slot. We're going to adjust that up just a little bit. Coming up. Oh, there we go. I'll end up a little high. There we go. Well, that's a little closer. So we're 4 hertz off now on lower. And we'll go to AM. We're going to shut off our tone here. 1 kilohertz tone's off. And we're just going to dead key on channel 19 AM. And we'll see what we're sitting at. So we are 20 hertz off there. Let me see if I can make a little bit of an adjustment there. Let's see. If you so much as bump that clarifier control after you make your adjustments, it's going to be different. And I probably bumped it. But I can get in here. Jeez. There we go. Okay. A minute. Let's move this up a little bit. Oh, just barely had to touch it. So sensitive. That's closer. Okay, so let's go ahead and all right, we're going to pull this out. We're going to listen to it. See what it sounds like. Put in a all right, so we got a realistic mic in there. Let's turn up our volume here on our monitor radio. Let's go to some monitor radios in upper right now. So we'll go ahead and go to upper, and we will listen to her. My mic in my hand. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check. Sounds pretty good on upper. All right, let's go to lower. So now on lower sideband, and we'll go to lower up there, and we'll key her up, talk into it. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Sounds nice, nice and even. The audio is nice and evenly balanced. All right, let's go to just AM there, and we'll go to AM up here, and we'll listen to her one more time in AM. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Check, check, 1, 2, hello, 1, 2. Yeah, she sounds great. So that's it, folks. Yeah, so just to reiterate, if you don't balance the, okay, again, for example, this is the lower sideband transmit offset. This is the lower sideband receive offset. If you just make your adjustment to get on frequency with your transmit offset pot, you're going to end up finding out that even though you're transmitting on frequency, your audio sounds very high pitched, very tinny, or vice versa. When you receive a signal, somebody talking is going to sound like they're very high pitched. So you really need to use both of the pots in conjunction with each other to balance it out, and then it'll come out sounding really great on transmit and receive. Same thing for upper receive offset, upper transmit offset. Same thing with AM receive offset, AM transmit offset. That is the best way that I've found to do these radios, and not only these radios but others. Same principle. So you do that, it'll come out sounding great. You really need to use a frequency counter when you do it. It makes it a whole heck of a lot easier, that's for sure. So I hope this helps somebody out, and we'll see you guys next time. 73s.